The Money Show.
Other people's money.
So if I said the name Jimmy Donaldson to you, you probably wouldn't mean very much. But if I said Mr. Beast and you've got preteen and teenage kids, you go, hold on a second, but that's the guy my kids follow on YouTube. Mr. Beast is a global phenomenon. Mr. Beast is the sweetest looking man you will find online. He is a curious, adventurous, cheeky, funny, combative sometimes content creator, and he is the world's most followed person on YouTube, and he makes an absolute fortune out of it. He has got more than 127 million subscribers and 208 million subscribers across all of his channels on YouTube, and he is 25 years old. In 2021 he earned over $50 million. More than half of that was from ads on about a dozen channels and another $9 million from sponsored content. He is huge in the world of YouTube. Now, South African filmmaker Dan Mace has been signed on as the Chief Creative Officer for the Beast Philanthropy YouTube channel. Dan Mace has got his own YouTube channel. He is the creator of The Brew Show for Warner Brothers and Discovery. He is an award-winning film director, and he joins us this evening, does Dan Mace, via Zoom tonight. How long have you been producing content for, Dan?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, good. How are you?
Throwing straight in, yeah. No, I'm all good. Yeah, so I've been creating content since I was 16. But content online, I guess, since around 2009, at like the beginning of the YouTube kind of phase. So,
and again, for people of a certain generation, they're going to say, well, that's very nice. How do you make money out of YouTube? Now, I've described a little bit like how Mr. Beast does it, but how have you survived in the online world? Yes, you've got, you've grown, and I'm going to get to how you've done it, contracts with Warner Brothers and Discovery and all of that. But 2009 onwards, how are you making a living basically creating content for YouTube?
Oh, well, I mean, in the beginning in 2009, there was absolutely zero cash being generated from YouTube. I think it was also in the beginning phases of YouTube. There wasn't many brands that were interested in sponsoring videos, and that even though the AdSense was reasonably high back then, and we'll speak about sort of CTRs and AVDs and how that generates income, but I think the climb started happening around 2015, I would say, 2015, 2016.
So it took six or 7 years to establish yourself on the channel when there was a lot less competition as well.
Yeah, exactly. I think because for me, I'm a filmmaker and less of a content creator, less of a personality. And YouTube was really focused around the more kind of what we would know now as meme content. So highly shareable, lesser, I would say, production value, and my interest then was to become a film director. So YouTube was very much, in my mind, a stepping stone to be able to get noticed and a way in which to showcase my work.
And so you get noticed, and you grow in stature, and you are producing content for Warner Brothers Discovery Channel. How did that connection happen? I mean, again, the internet is a wonderful thing. It makes connections, but how did you connect with those guys and start producing content for them?
Yeah, exactly. YouTube opens so many doors. It gives you the ability to, there's no red tape. Prior 2017, I was in the traditional world of film directing. I was a TV commercials director. Then I decided to make the move over to YouTube. It was really scary. I had no idea back then if I was going to be able to generate income and how to grow a subscriber base. But I had an opportunity to go and work with a very well-known YouTuber then, and still now, and a great friend of mine, a mentor named Casey Neistat.
Oh, yeah.
Who brought me on in New York City, and we developed a daily show called 368. And then from there, I went off on my own from the knowledge I'd gained with Casey, and kind of developed my YouTube channel. And because there's no red tape, you can, in the beginning of your channel, you can really experiment with a bunch of different ideas. So I was just throwing creative ideas out there with every video, and a guy named Tom Lofthouse, who was the former head of multimedia at Discovery at the time, which after it got bought by David Zaslav, Warner Brothers became Warner Brothers Discovery. He reached out, and it's so casual. It's the weirdest thing, I think he reached out via an Instagram DM the one day, and he was like, I've been watching your YouTube videos, and I think we should do something together. And that was in 2018, 2019, I think. And then we developed there's a bunch of different ideas that were thrown out. And my production house back in South Africa, we started doing a lot of longer form content for the Discovery Channel, more in the nature realm. But the Brew Show was in development in 2000 and towards the end of 2021, and we started in 2022.
Okay.
With that, yeah.
But again, it's a bit like being the busker who's playing on a street in DC or in Vienna or on the London Underground, and suddenly somebody hears the music and goes, oh, we must promote this person. Get onto Britain's Got Talent or America's Got Talent, and you show off there. YouTube is a bit like that. It's the place where you are able to show off your skills and hopefully get spotted. How common in your experience is your story of somebody who religiously and on a disciplined basis pushes out content regularly, and then finally somebody goes, oh yeah, you're quite good at this, let's do something together?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. It's kind of like the analogy of saying my goal was to be a professional surfer growing up. That's all I wanted to do. And I tried, and eventually I reached the point where I was like, it's not going to happen. I'm just not cut out to do this. I think content creation in some regard, and I don't, in no way I want to be, I don't want to uninspire anyone to not keep pursuing their content creation, because there's so many different fields. But there's a kind of a time cap on relevancy, and if you've been religiously uploading the same idea or the same kind of content pillars for 5 years, and you haven't got the recognition, but you've been collaborating
but
with
your
the right
mom
people,
says it's good, and I mean she thinks you're fantastic. Perhaps it's time for a change.
Yeah, my mom, she's actually a really heavy critic of my work. She picks out every time I make a spelling mistake in any of my videos. But yeah, I get where you're going with that. There's but then there are those chances. I mean, it's a story of like giving up 3 feet before you strike gold. Today there's so many people. It's the industry is so saturated, yet there's so much money being poured into content creation right now. So it's definitely a lucrative decision as a career if you can crack it.
So does Mr. Beast phone you individually, Dan, or does he have people? Because he's so busy creating his vast content empire, I wonder if he's got the time. Did he get in touch personally? Did you met before he made contact? What's the backstory?
Yeah, he calls me personally. We met via we met through Casey, who I was speaking to you about earlier,
Yep.
in Cape Town. Actually, I showed him some of my content, and he didn't really react to it. You know, he kind of watched it and he was like, yeah, cool. And we stayed in touch. We stayed friends, and then I think that he sort of with the philanthropy channel, they wanted to develop it into something that was catering to a slightly older audience, but at the same time capturing the younger audience, but making the videos more sincere in the sense of being able to capture that correctly. So just upping the production value. Like, for instance, on his main channel, it would be where they would shoot everything at 1080p, which is a lower quality, lower bitrate camera setting, so that the films seem more attainable. Whereas on the philanthropy side of things, we would shoot it on 4K and we would grade it differently. So there's a completely different approach to that. But that's a new thing that's just obviously started now.
What's the channel about? I mean, what does Mr. Beast want to do? Mr. Beast is renowned for stunts and for explosions and for throwing money around and giving away big prizes. He's very. I mean, I suppose you've got to get more and more outrageous as you go along, because you've got to keep the sort of adrenaline flowing amongst your viewers. What is he hoping to do with philanthropy?
Yeah, good question. I think to answer the first point, I think what happens with some YouTubers that grow really big really quickly, and there's this idea of losing the possibility of losing relevance. It's like the perpetual cycle of sensationalism, eventually leading towards the demise of someone's channel. We've seen it happen to a lot of content creators, where with Jimmy, because his intent is so he close to what he's trying to achieve, which is make the world a better place. And I know that sounds like a platitude in some form, but
he could enter Miss Universe,
or
Miss Congeniality or something along those lines.
Yeah. No, but he is. I mean, he really does want to do good, and the audience that watches his main channel videos are generally younger, and it's exciting content that he creates. And he kind of came up with this model. He was the first YouTuber to come up with this model, and one of the only ones still to this day that uses all the money that comes in from the brand deal, reinvests it into the video, and is able to do these massive giveaways. I mean, he gives away more money than they would in an entire season of Big Brother, or you'd watch Survivor, you would watch I don't know how many episodes riddled with all of this kind of rhetoric to get you to this point where it's like, oh, this person gets $1 million, but in a video that Jimmy creates, he gives away that amount of money in a video that's dropped every 21 days. Then with the philanthropy video, the idea was, I mean, with the philanthropy channel, the idea was looking at this kind of Gen Alpha, Gen Z audience and going, we have such a wide, younger viewership and the ability to affect such positive global change. So that's where the channel came about. Originally, it was just about, there wasn't going to be any videos attached to it. It was about Jimmy, just giving back and doing good with the money that he had. And then they obviously developed a channel around it, because there's a utilization of edutainment and also kind of like heart-wrenching stories where, the Gen Z market is the market that cares the most, but they just don't have the access to solutions to problems. And through the philanthropy channel, we have the ability to showcase that there's already people spearheading these kinds of organizations or charities, and to get involved you can donate $1, or you can come and
it's about the scale and the volume, isn't it? I mean, you get enough people doing it, they donate the money, and suddenly this thing begins to get a life of its own. Have you started doing the work yet, Dan? I mean, have you started producing the content? What sort of stuff are you doing?
We've done one video, but I just actually want to touch to the previous point. Sorry, you write on the scalability of it. Remember, with the concept of Beast Philanthropy is that 100% of the proceeds goes into the project. So any production costs, so the cost for us to actually make the films, get funded outside of that amount of money. So that's what Jimmy's main business would pay for. So say the videos start to generate 40 million views, 50 million, 60 million, whatever, that amount of money through, there's multiple different income streams. The bigger the videos become, then the more money the brands, just like you have advertising on your radio station, which are hard interrupts, which we try and integrate into the video. Not throwing shade at all.
No. It's a very different business model, and it's a business model that is appealing to advertisers. It's a business model that's appealing to youngsters, and suddenly the boundaries between content and advertising, it's all content. And Andy Rice would tell us for many, many years on our ad feature that you don't want the advertising interrupting the content. You want the advertising to be as enjoyable as the stuff you set out to watch.
Exactly. So we're trying to find a way of, and that's why so to just finish. Sorry,
last point.
When I'm excited. With regards to that. So obviously, as it grows, the more money gets given back to whatever I wish I could share. We just had a massive meeting this morning about all the different projects we're going to be working on this year, and it's so exciting. And
we're going to have to, Dan, keep an eye out for it on the YouTube channel, Mr. Beast's YouTube channel. He's the chief creative officer is Dan Mace, South African filmmaker for the Beast Philanthropy YouTube channel. You've got the story. Mr. Beast, Jimmy Donaldson, the world's most successful YouTuber, has hired South African filmmaker Dan Mace as the chief creative officer of the Philanthropy YouTube channel. Still lots of private stuff, still lots of, I don't want to call them secrets, but certainly lots of stuff that is not yet in the public domain in terms of the content that is coming.
The Money Show. Other people's money.